All right, I think I'm live. Hi everyone. I think there are 17 people waiting for me. Thanks so much for joining in. If you're already up, why don't you just say a hi in the chat box, and I'll get to know that you're really there. Put in your name. Tell me where are you coming from, which part of the country. If you're outside India, please mention your country's name. Hi Rakesh, how are you doing? Glad to see you here. As you come in, please mention your name and mention the part of the city where you're coming from. I'll be glad to have you here. Where are you coming from? Are you coming from Delhi? Are you coming from Bombay? Which part of the country? If you're coming from anywhere outside India, please mention your country and your name. Well, we still have about 4 odd minutes to go. It's my laptop says it's 15:26 now. We'll get started at sharp 3:30. Guys, if you're able to listen to me, my video is absolutely clear. Just let me know in the comments. If I have to make any tech adjustments before we begin, I'll be able to do that right now. Just let me know if you're able to listen to me loud and clear. My video is clear. Any adjustments you want me to make in terms of picture or the sound, I'll be able to make it right now. Let me know in the comments. All right, we are 23 people, still 2 more minutes to go. We'll just get started in 2 minutes. Just say a hi to each one of you in the comments. Introduce yourself. Where are you from? Which part of the country? If you're from India, if you're from outside, let me know your country. Very happy to welcome you here. Hey, Paul. This is going to be really 4 a.m. in USA. Okay. I'm glad you woke up that early to join the webinar. Thank you so much. Hi, Aditya. How are you? I can see your message. Thanks for joining in. Hi, Amjad. How are you doing? Thanks for joining in. Hi, Pankaj. What's up? Hey Nitish, glad to see people coming in. It's 50 people now. I'm so glad. Uh, Hi Ratan, how's it going? All right. So here is what we're going to do. I have my friend with me. His name is Saurabh Kushwaha, and he's on the other side. So from now on, Saurabh, would you just take a moment to say hi to everyone first? Are you there? Are you able to listen to me?
Hi everyone. Yes, Chandeep. Congratulations, first of all, and hope everyone can hear me. Um, I'll be here to assist you over the chat if you have any questions. For chance, typically the Hangout has a 5 minutes, couple of moments delay, so you can just post your questions, and I will divert them to Chandeep, and then he can answer you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Saurabh. At least I was able to hear that. I'm not sure about people, but I'm hopeful that they are able to listen to you. So, people, Saurabh is going to be assisting you with all the questions. Saurabh, just make sure that you kind of welcome everyone, and I'll just get started. All right. So, for the next 1 hour, I would request everyone just to keep everything aside, your phones, your laptops, and other stuff, because we are on computers, and computer has Facebook, it has YouTube, it has a lot of other distractions. So, just give me your attention for 1 hour, and I'm just here to discuss something really interesting with you. I've made a short presentation. I haven't done this stuff before, so just wish me luck that I do this well. I have a short presentation which I'd like to show it to you, and I am now going to shift my screen, and you'll not be able to see me. You'll be able to see my presentation. So we'll be kind of switching in between my screen, myself, and the presentation. All right, people, are you able to sort of just can you just give me a a surety that you're able to see my screen, and I'll be sure that everybody else is also able to see that. Are you able to see my screen, Saurabh?
Yes.
Okay, great, great. I'll just get started. All right. There is a high possibility that some of you may not know who am I, and you must have gone to my blog very recently to take a look at my Excel stuff, and you might have joined my email list. So you might be very recent to my blog. Um, my name is Chandeep Chabra. Before starting my own firm, which is Goodly, I used to work in investment banking, and I worked there for about 4 years. I have worked a lot with Excel in my career, especially a lot with financial modeling when I was doing a job. And after 4 years of my investment banking work, where I had to create a lot of financial models, I just got bored of working for somebody else, and I thought I'll just start something of my own. And I started Goodly. Now, Goodly is all about teaching people solving practical business problems using Microsoft Excel. And my primary business is to do trainings for companies in India. And I also run a blog, goodly.co.in. Now, this is my Excel story. Now, from the last 2 years, I have been investing a lot of my time every morning, every evening to learn the modern BI tools of Excel, business intelligence tools of Excel, which is Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View. You must have heard me speaking about these tools on my blog in the videos quite often these days. And also Power BI, which is a new application of Microsoft. And I have been totally floored with the capabilities of what modern Excel brings to you. Um, and what I want to talk about is that since most of you are heavy Excel users, I want to talk about a typical scenario that you must be going through every time you're creating a monthly or a quarterly report in your office. So, a typical business reporting scenario happens something like this. Let's say you have to make a report, and the report is gone out every single quarter or every single month or every single year. So what you do is you download data from your ERP, from maybe your colleagues send you the data in an email, and you download a lot of files. These can be CSV files, these can be Excel files, these can be text files. You download a lot of files with data. And what you try to do is you then integrate these files. So since these files may not be speaking to each other, maybe you copy paste the data and create a master database. Maybe you apply a lot of VLOOKUPs, index match, control F kind of that stuff, and you integrate that and make it a single master file out of it. Now, once you do that, then you have to then clean that data. Maybe you don't need certain columns out of that. Maybe you want to remove certain things around that. Maybe you just want to clean that data up so that you can use it further for doing some analysis. Now, in their entire process, there are 2 or 3 major issues. Problem number one is that a lot of us are extremely struggling with enormous data volumes these days. Excel is not good enough for handling enormous volumes of data. And when you have huge databases, the problem that happens most of the times is that Excel getting stuck. I mean, I have personally seen people taking compulsory breaks after every VLOOKUP that they have to apply. They have to take a 40-50 minute break because they're working on maybe 500,000 rows of data, or even a data which is more than 2 million rows, and they have to break it up in 2 or 3 different parts of Excel, and they have to apply VLOOKUP in multiple number of times. So data volume is definitely one big problem that a lot of people face. Next is that all of this process that you follow to create a report is extremely repetitive. So every time you download the same Excel files with a different data, you integrate it, you follow the same steps, and you then clean it up. And if you just wanted to solve this problem by VBA, if VBA was the solution that you had in mind, it is not going to work, my friends. Why? Because VBA is not capable of handling enormous volumes of data. So it is going to crash as much as Excel crashes when you're trying to work with enormous volumes of data. Now, let's say you went ahead and you are able to make a clean data, and now you start to analyze the data. Once you start analyzing the data, you make maybe one pivot table, or you may be making multiple pivot tables. You may be writing a sum if formula or a count if formula, or you may be making multiple number of charts. And you then paste all of these things into a PowerPoint, and you maybe call that PowerPoint as your dashboard. Now, the problem with analyzing the data is, number one, is that 90% of the time is kind of lost in just doing the grunt work, the analysis, the data cleaning work, because the data is so segregated these days that to integrate the data, you have to write first a lot of VLOOKUPs, and a lot of time is wasted in that. And then there are a lot of what if scenarios asked by the business. So let's say, for example, you prepare a report and you give it to the management, and the management turns around and asks you the same question, but a little differently, that show me this, but by that category, show me that, but by this method. And then you have to repeat the entire process once again. And you know what? This story repeats month after month, week after week, day after day, every single day. And you just kind of waste a lot of time. Now, this exact thing can be solved using Microsoft modern business intelligence tools. These tools are Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View. Now, even before I kind of delve deeper into each of these tools and talk about them, and maybe also show you a demo of them, I want to let you know that these are absolutely free add-ins from Microsoft. What I will try to do is in the comments somewhere later, I will try to give you links of downloading these tools, and you can just download them and add it into your Excel. And these are also called self-service BI. Usually, business intelligence is something that you have to rely on the IT team to give you. You don't have to rely on the IT team. You can perform as sophisticated intelligence on your own using your Excel. And these tools can handle enormous volumes of data. All right, let's just talk about the first tool, Power Query. Now, although the names definitely sound sophisticated and maybe sounding complex, but Power Query essentially means this. Power Query just means you want to clean your data and you want to automate the cleaning process. As simple as that. So when it comes to data cleaning, essentially I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of VLOOKUPs, delimiting certain text out of that. Cleaning the dates is one of the major issues that a lot of people face. All of that can be cleaned using Power Query, right? And Once you do the steps in Power Query has this intelligent ability to read your steps and create a sequence. So it is like a macro that records your steps, but it's super easy. So Power Query is like a click-based interface. I'll show you Power Query right now on the screen, but I'm just talking about it for a while. Power Query is like a click-based interface. You just click on some buttons on the top, and it's super easy to learn, and it can also handle enormous volumes of data. So once you clean your data, you can just automate the entire process using Power Query. Once that process is done, then you take your data to the second phase, which is Power Pivot. The next part of the business intelligence tools is Power Pivot. Power Pivot simply means to analyze the data. Just as Excel, you have Excel formulas. Similarly, in Power Pivot, you have DAX formulas. And the full form of DAX is data analysis expressions. And you can perform some extremely sophisticated analysis that normal pivot tables and formulas just can't. I mean, you just can't even dream of doing those things in normal Excel. Even if you are able to do that by doing some hook or crook, then they are not very dynamic, and they'll be very slow in terms of their performance as well. And like I said, these tools can be extremely good for handling enormous volumes of data. Now, the best thing about Power Pivot that I like is that the fourth point, which is written on the screen, which is portable formulas. Now, what does the portable formula mean? Let me show you some stuff. Let's say your boss asks you a question that show me distinct selling days by month. So you kind of prepare a pivot table. By the way, distinct selling days is not a feature of normal pivot table. You would not get that in normal pivot table. So let's say distinct selling days by month, you calculate that through Power Pivot, and you show it right here. And maybe when you're just about to kind of show it to him, he turns around and say, "Hey, listen, I don't really want to see that by days. I want to see that by the customer." So what you can do is you can, in just about 2 clicks, you can change the pivot table to get distinct selling days by the customer names in just about 2 clicks. You would not have to do any work at all to get that result. So that is what I call as a formula portability. I will talk more about formula portability when I actually show you a demo. And finally, so what we have done as of now is that we have cleaned the data using Power Query. That clean data, we took it inside Power Pivot, and we did all the analysis that we wanted to do. Once we are done with the analysis, we have the option of presenting that analysis in a form of a beautiful dashboard using Power View. Power View is like a video game. I mean, if you're a data analyst or you're doing a lot of data analytics in your firm, I would not recommend that Power View is made for you. Power View is like a video game which is made for your boss, and he can play around with that video game throughout the day, whatever he wants to do. And you can make dashboards, you can make charts, and Power View offers a lot more interactivity as compared to normal Excel. Take a look. This is a screen for Power View, and you can take a look at this is far more interactive than just normal Excel. Right? You can click on the buttons, you can click on the charts, which is not possible in Excel. And this is going to filter down the entire dashboard. This is how a typical dashboard in Power View looks. All right. Now, this workshop is going to be about Power Pivot and Power BI. Now, Microsoft has created another application called Power BI. And what is Power BI exactly? If I have to explain in layman terms that what is Power BI is just a combination of Power Query plus Power Pivot plus Power View. So Microsoft did what? It made these 3 add-ins for Excel, and then it took out the add-ins on its own, standalone add-ins on its own, and it created Power BI as a different software altogether. Like you open Excel in your computer, you would open Power BI desktop in your laptops. You can just install it. It's absolutely free. Apart from Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View, it has also got a lot more features which make it extremely compelling business case for your businesses to move to Power BI for doing all your business intelligence. Like it will offer you a lot of data security, which is not possible in Excel. It can offer you dashboards on cell phones. You can take a look at dashboards on cell phones. It offers you a lot more richer visualizations as compared to Power View. and a ton of interesting features that you can integrate and you can work around with in Power BI. But in the nutshell, Power BI is just Power Query plus Power Pivot plus Power View. If you learn these three things, you're more or less ready about working with Power BI. That's about it. All right, I'd like to show you a quick demo of how these modern Excel work. I mean, as of now, I've just taken you through a presentation. Maybe you've just understood it partially, but I'd like to show you a real-time demo of how this works. All right, I'm just gonna turn on my screen once again. Just give me a moment. All right, are you able to see my screen once again? Saurabh, can you give me a thumbs up on that? Are you able to see my screen? Okay, great. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this folder that I have. I have a folder on my desktop which is called shared files. Now in that folder, I have 4 years of sales data. I'm just going to open up the data and just take a look at the data here. So assume that every single year you receive data from your software or from your ERP from somewhere, and in this data you have 5 or 6 columns. So the first column is your date. So since this is 2005 Excel file, this is 2005 data, nearly about 143 rows. And we have sales rep, we have customer, we have the amount, the transaction, the sales amount, we have the profit, and we have the region, that in which region the sale was made. And you have 4 such Excel files. So I'm just going to close this Excel file. We have 4 such Excel files with exactly the same data. We just open 2008. You can just take a look that this is 2008 data. It is a possibility that most number of Excel files will have different number of rows. That's fine, but we have the exact structure of the data. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a small data cleaning exercise in front of you. I'm sure a lot of times you're trying to make a master database where if you had to do that manually in Excel, you would open every single Excel file, press Control C, and then put that information in your master Excel file. So here is how you can do that with the modern business intelligence tool. I'm just going to open a blank sheet of Excel. All right. Now, over here in Excel, in my Excel, typically, if you're working with any of the prior versions of Excel, maybe Excel 2013, Excel 2010, then you would have a separate thing on the top which says Power Query. As of now, I don't have it because my Power Query is built into Excel 2016. So my Power Query lies in the Data tab. Excuse me. If you're working with any of the prior versions of Excel, you will have Power Query over here. Mine is in Data. So I'm just going to go in Data tab and instigate a query. So I'll say get data. I'll say from file, from a folder. Now it's going to ask me that, hey, which folder? And I'm just going to say browse. And my folder is kept on over here in the shared files. I'm just going to say okay. And now what it's going to do is Power Query is going to go inside that folder and get me the names of all the Excel files. You can see that on your screen. I have all the files that I had in the folder. Now, obviously, I don't really need all the files. I just need the 4 files, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I don't need the rest of them. So I'm just going to open the Power Query window, click on Edit. And right now, what you see in front of you is the Power Query window. Now, the Power Query opens on top of Excel. So you can do all your data cleaning here. It's extremely easy. I'll just show that to you. And you can take that data and put it back into Excel. Or you can take that data and put it into Power Pivot, which is the second analysis engine or the data calculation engine. Just take a look. Power Query opens on top of Excel. So this is the query editor, and you have book 1 at the back, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I only want to pick up 5, 6, 7, and 8. And for doing this exercise, I have 2 main objectives. Objective number one, that I want to create a master data and I want to consolidate all the 4 years into one single Excel file. That's my first objective. And the second objective is that the next time I get 2009 data, I should not have to do any work. It should be automatic. So remember what I said, Power Query is about clean and it's about automation. So here's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to say is that I will apply a filter in the extension, and I'll say that, hey, I'm looking at all the Excel files. Let me just do a full screen here. So I'll say that in the extension, I'm looking at all the Excel files. In case you had CSVs, you will pick up a CSV here, and I'll say okay, and I get all the Excel files here. Now, um, as of now, I have 4 relevant files and 1 non-relevant file, which is new Microsoft Excel worksheet. Now, I don't really need this, right? So what I'm going to say is that I'll apply another filter in the name column, and I'll say pick up all the Excel files whose names start with year dash 20. So I'll say begins with. These are just normal filters like the way that you would do it in Excel. So year dash 20. That's what the name should begin with. And I'll say okay. Excuse me. And I have all the Excel files with me, right? Now, I don't really need the name of the Excel file. I need the content inside it, and I want to make a master out of it. So here's what I'm going to do is, here is a column which says content. That means here is where the content of the Excel file is kept. So I will just keep the content after applying the filters. And you can see that I've applied 2 or 3 things, and on the right-hand side, I have applied steps. Now, these steps are recorded by Power Query automatically, and every time you're going to run this query, it's going to do the same steps over and over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the content column and delete all the other columns. So right click on the content and I'll say remove all other columns. Now I just have the content of the 4 filtered files that I needed in the first place. And I'm going to expand it by double clicking on the arrow. It asks me that, hey, on which sheet do you have the data? So in sheet number 1, I have the data for all the files. I'll say okay. And just in a moment, it's going to go inside every single Excel file, take the data and make a master database and put it in front of me. All right, I have the data. So it's gone inside the file, it's taken the data and it's made a master database. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that please take this data and put it inside Excel. So I'll say close and load and put it inside Excel. Now just take a look. It's going to create a new sheet and put the data inside those inside that sheet. Now let's just take a look at the date column. Do we have all the 4 years? Sure enough, we have 2005 data, 6 data, 7 data, and 8 data. Sure enough, we have all the rows. Now remember we had 2 objectives. One was to make a master data. Second was to automate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a mock file. So I'll go back to my folder. I'll copy and paste 2008 once again, change the name, and I'll call this as 2009. Assume that now we have 1 additional year of data. I'm going to open this Excel file, and I'm going to change the year to 2009. So I'm just going to add 365 days here. This becomes 2009. Drag this till the end and paste this on the dates. Paste this on the dates and delete this column, right? Now I'm just going to save this, close this. Now you can see that I have 2009 in my folder, and in my query I have up till 2008, right? Now I just have to right click on the query and hit on refresh, and right now you can see that I have 590 rows loaded, and as soon as I hit a refresh, this is going to go inside that folder, do all the steps again, and get me 2009's data as well. Just take a look. Yes, 753 rows loaded. And if you just take a look at the data here, I have 2009 as well. So that's super, super easy, right? All right. That's how Power Query works. Now, this is a very, very small application of Power Query. Certainly, you will have a question in your mind that, hey, listen, what if the column is not the same? Hey, what if I have a couple of extra columns? What if I have to do something else before I want to consolidate data? Yes, all of that is possible in Power Query. But just because we have lesser time now, I'm just taking you through what these tools can do. And maybe just I'll just do one small operation for you right now. Let's say we have amount column, we have the profit column. Taking the amount and taking the profit, I can calculate my total cost, right? So I'm just going to go in add column, and in add column I can write a custom column, and in custom column I'm going to say that the name of my column is cost. And how do I calculate cost? I take the amount, double click, minus, I subtract profit from it, and I get the cost. And I'm just going to say okay. And as soon as I do that, I have the cost column as well. Now you can see that you have added additional step here. Now every time you're going to run this query, the query is going to go to your folder, pick up all the relevant files that you need, is going to combine them, and then calculate the cost as well. So you can do a lot of operations, the data cleaning operations, your VLOOKUPs, your data cleaning, your delimiting, uh, your separations, everything you can do it in Power Query and load the data back into Excel. And the good thing is that Power Query can handle large volumes of data. So that's really awesome. So go on home, say close and load, and as soon as I do that, I will have an additional cost column as well. All right. Now let me just kind of take off the cost column. I don't really need it. So I will go back to query. I'll say I want to edit my query, and I will delete this step. There's no control Z, by the way, in Power Query. So you just have to come here and you just have to delete the step. And I'll say close and load. Now I get my normal data. All right. Now, once you have combined the data, what you can do is you can take the data into the second uh, engine, or the second part of the BI tool, which is the Power Pivot. And the way to do that is really simple. So I'm just going to go in query, and I'm just going to say that, hey, load to, I have load to, and I'm going to say that right now you have created a table in my Excel. Please don't create a table, right? I just want you to create a connection. Connection simply means that just remember this data, put it inside your brain. Don't make my Excel file heavy. That's what the connection means in the simple terms. Also add this to the data model. Data model simply means that take this data to the second BI tool, which is Power Pivot. So what Power Query is going to do is, Power Query is going to do all the data cleaning and then take your data and throw it inside the Power Pivot engine, and you can do all your calculations and data analysis there. Let's just do a few of them. So I'm just going to say okay, and this data is going to get deleted from here, and this will go in the Power Pivot screen. So it says, the data is going to be deleted. Do you want to say, okay, yes, sure enough, no problem at all. All right, so you can see that my data is gone from here, and it is where it is in the Power Pivot screen. And you can just take a look. I have Power Pivot on the top. I can click on Manage, and this is going to open up the second window, which is the Power Pivot window. And you can see that I have my data right here, right? And it's come right here. Now, like I said, Power Query and Power Pivot can handle enormous volumes of data. In Excel, you have a limitation of maybe a million rows, but in Power Pivot, you don't have any limitation. I personally have seen about, I don't know, maybe 300, 400 million rows being handled very conveniently in Power Pivot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a pivot table from this. So let's just make a pivot table, and let's just keep the pivot table in the existing worksheet. All right. Now let me just show you what Power Pivot is capable of doing, right? So I'm just going to open this, and let's say I want to analyze my my sales. So, and I just don't want to analyze the sum of sales. What I want to do is I want to analyze my average order value. So let's just take a look at the data. So if I open if I open the Power Pivot window and I just take a look here. So just take a look. Let me just sort the dates in the oldest to the newest. Now just take a look. So I want to analyze the average sales per day, right? So you can just take a look that on the 1st of January, you had the date appearing twice, right? So what I want to do is I want to first find the distinct dates. That's what I want to find. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to come inside my Power Pivot and right click here, and I'm just going to add a measure. Like I said, when we were doing the presentation, Power Pivot uses DAX measure, data analysis expressions. These are formulas inside pivot tables, just as Excel formulas. So I am going to say that please find the distinct count of my dates. So the name of my table is shared, and the name of my column is date. Close the bracket. Now just take a look. I am saying that please go inside the date column and get me the unique dates from there. So if 1st of January is coming twice, please accept that only once. That's what I'm saying. And this is nothing but my distinct selling days, right? And I'm just going to say okay, and that gets added here. Let's just make a small pivot table, and I'm just going to put the dates in the rows. Now, because I have Excel 2016, it gives me a grouping of the dates automatically. Let's just keep only years as of now, and let's just keep against it the distinct selling days. And you can see I have distinct selling days. So in 2005, you had 115 distinct selling days. You had 115 distinct selling. Out of 365, they were 115 days unique. Now let's just find the total sales. So I'm just going to add a measure, and I'm just going to say what total sales is nothing but the sum of your amount column, the sum of the shared table, and which column, amount column. And let's just take a look. This formula is correct. Let's just also convert this into a currency in rupees, or you can also put a dollar here if you'd like, and say okay. And I got the total sales as well. So in 2005, you sold this much. 2006, you sold this much. 7, you sold this much. 8, you sold this much. And 9, you sold this much. You can see that 2008 and 2009, the sales are absolutely the same because we just copied 2008 data and pasted it over 2009. That's the reason why the sales are absolutely the same. Even the distinct selling days are absolutely the same. All right. Now, let's just add a measure, and we say that I want to find out the average sales per day. Right? And I'm just going to take my total sales, which I already have it, and I'm going to divide that with my distinct selling days, which I already have it. And this is going to give me my average sales per day. And if I drag it, this is my average sales per day. Now that you have made a pivot table, your boss can turn around and say that I was talking about portability earlier. I'm just going to give you an example of portability. And the formula that you have made, average sales per day, is absolutely portable. You can use it under any context. What you can do is, let's just take the total sales out. Let's just take the distinct selling days out. What you can do is, you can analyze this by any angle. So I can analyze this by region also. So you can see that I have now got the total sales per day by region by region. I can also analyze this by different customers. So take the region out, and I can bring customers inside. And you can see that I have the total selling sales per day by different customers. So this measure, average sales per day, will automatically adjust to whatever context that you're trying to play with. Now, as of now, we are still in the bounds of Excel. That means we created the master database using Power Query, and after that we created a small calculation, which is average sales per day, using Power Pivot, writing a DAX measure. But we are still showing the results in Excel. We have still not explored the third tool, which is Power View. Let's just explore that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I have Power View. Note that these tools are not by default available. You just have to activate them. I'm just going to leave links around so that you can activate them once you take a look at the entire video here. So I'm just going to insert Power View, and this is going to insert a separate sheet. Now, this is not a normal Excel sheet. This is a Power View screen that you see in front of you. All right. Now, this is a blank canvas. What I can do is, I can take my total sales from here, and I just get the number here. And what I'm going to do is, let's just say that I want to analyze by different years. I get that. And let's just keep the years first. And let's just say that I want to make a chart out of this. So I'm just going to go in the design tab, and I'll say that, hey, please make a clustered column chart from this. So it makes a nice looking clustered column chart by different years. Now, I'd like to make another average sales per day by different customers. So I will say by customers, and I have average sales per day by customers. And again, I'd like to make a bar chart from here. So let's just say clustered bar chart, right? Now let's just take a look at a little magic. So I'm just going to keep it here, just going to extend it till the bottom. All right. Now let's just say that let's just also sort this data by sales. All right. Now let's just take a look at the first one, which is Boston Consultants, where you find that the average sales per day for Boston Consultants was the highest. Now, if I click on Boston Consultants, this is going to filter down the other chart as well. Now you can see that the Boston Consultants, the highest was 2009. The total sales from Boston Consultants was the maximum in 2009. And if you hover your mouse on top of that, you can also see the total sales. And if you hover your mouse on top of the blue, it's also going to show you that how much is the highlighted part out of the total bar. The reverse is also possible. So I can click on 2008, and this is going to give me the average sales per day for each customer only in 2008. So what you can do is you can make dashboards extremely easily in Power View by just clicking, dragging, dropping, and making a dashboard. And since these formulas that you have made are automatically adjustable, so they will adjust to any context that your management wants to see. All right, that was a quick demo of Power View. And now I quickly like to show you what uh, Power BI it seems like. So this is Power BI, and just as the way that I open Excel, I open a Power BI, right? So let me just hide that. Let me just close that. Okay. Now, just as the way that you open Excel, you open Power BI, and in Power BI, you have exactly the three things that we spoke about. But there is no Excel in Power BI. You don't have any cells, you don't have any of that sort. So there are three parts in Power BI. So what you can do is you can get all the data using Power Query. So in the Home tab, you can see that you have the Query button. You can see that you have queries here. You can get the data using Excel, using any of these things. You can get the data into Power Query. And once you get the data into Power Query, you can clean the data. Let me just open Edit Queries and let me just show you. Now, this is exactly how the Power Query looked, right? And it opened on top of Excel. You can see at the back there is Power BI, and on the fore end there is Power Query. So you can clean the data using Power Query. All the steps are going to be mentioned here. And as soon as you say close and apply, the data goes into your Power BI, and the data gets collected right here in the second tab. This is all your data. All my tables right here are right here, and once you have the data here, you can create measures like DAX measures, the DAX formulas in Power Pivot. Now, this is nothing but the sort of a Power Pivot window where you can create DAX measures. So you can see that wherever I have a little calculator sign, these are nothing but the DAX measures. And I have a lot of them. You can just take a look. These are a lot of DAX measures that I've created. Once I create the measures, then I open the screen here and I start to build visualization. So I have two things here. I can pick up whatever chart and I can pick up whatever thing that I want to pick up against that chart. So if I want to make a donut chart, I'm just going to pick up a donut chart from here. In the donut chart, whatever I'd like to show, I can just put it from here. So in this donut chart, I'm just showing two types of trading cost, and you can just take a look at it here. So that's how the entire thing works. But Power BI is more or less very similar to the modern Excel 3 tools. Alongside, it has a lot of additional applications that are there in this software. So it's a combination of Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View, just taken to the next level, and it's really awesome. All right, that was a quick demo of Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View. We'll just get back that I was running earlier. Right, we had done until here, demo time, modern Excel. All right, now if you would like to learn these tools, Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View, and alongside Power BI, I am doing a workshop in Mumbai on the 12th and 13th, and in Gurgaon on the 9th and 10th of June. let me just show you my screen so that you're able to see. Right. So, like I said, I'm doing a workshop. It's happening 12th and 13th May in Mumbai, which is a Saturday Sunday, and in Gurgaon on the 9th and 10th of June, which is again a Saturday Sunday. And I'm doing this, and I'm teaching these three tools. And we would really go in depth in learning the automations of Power Query, how automations are set up, how can you handle enormous volumes of data, how can you write really sophisticated measures that do really powerful calculations that were not possible in normal Excel earlier, that you had to do a lot of work with, and how can you effectively visualize your data. We're going to learn. We're going to learn all of that. So, and in terms of complexity, I'd like to give Power Query a 3 on 5. So it's not really complex at all. I mean, it's really simple. All that you have to do is you just have to click a few buttons, set up the query, have a logical order of the query so that the query runs fine, right? I would have given this 2 stars, but I still gave this as 3 stars because you'll be doing Power Query for the first time if you haven't worked with Power Query earlier. So yeah, I mean, that's why I give this as 3 stars. But Power Query is really simple, and you're gonna enjoy this. The most time is going to be spent on Power Pivot, which is the analysis of the data, right? So cleaning the data is just one part, right? And we're going to automate that. So we're going to be spending most of the time in analyzing the data. That how can you write really powerful, sophisticated, intelligent DAX measures or DAX formulas which work more or less like Excel only, and how can you write them in Power Pivot so that you're able to very effectively analyze the data and give superior insights to the management that they haven't even thought about, getting that from normal Excel. Once we are done with the analysis, I will teach you that how can you do visualizations. And for visualizations, we will be using Excel like Power View, and we'll be also using Power BI. We'll be using both of them for doing our visualizations, right? All right, so that's more or less from my side. I have all the details right here. The workshop fee is 10,900 until the Tuesday of May 8th. If you'd like to come in from Bombay, post the 8th May, the workshop fee is going to increase to 13,000 rupees, which is 12,990 to be precise. And that's for Bombay. And we still have some time for the June workshop in Delhi, in Gurgaon. So I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, I mean, if you're interested in learning these tools, I'll definitely recommend you to come over to the workshop and take the benefit of it. All right. Thank you so much here. And if you have any questions, it's the question time now. Please feel free to ask me any questions if you have any. If you have any questions, please write them down in the comments, and Saurabh is going to help me out in reading the questions. So Monica says that, am I going to do the workshop in Hyderabad? Monica, it's just that uh, getting the participants, in a particular city is a little bit of trouble. So if we have enough nominations coming in, enough requests coming in from Hyderabad, certainly I would love to do this in Hyderabad. But I'll keep you posted on that for sure. Yes, I can see 2 people requesting for Hyderabad. So yes, thank you so much for that, and I will try to do this in Hyderabad. I'll keep that on my mind. Any other questions? So Ravi is asking how to add these Power Pivot and Power Query to my Excel. Ravi, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the links for the add-ins that you can download from Microsoft site, and then you can add these to your Excel. Also, if you've had a look at the training outline, which is the PDF has all the details about adding the add-ins to your Excel. So you might want to read that in a little more detail, and it has all the links that how can you add these to your Excel. So Swaroop says, what if we have added new column in the next years? How can we merge the data? Yes, Swaroop, we can definitely have new data, new columns. Even if you can delete the columns, it's still going to accept that. It's just that as of now, I have taken the most ideal example and the most simple example. So you can set up a lot of automations to build a query in such a way that it accepts a lot of additional possibilities where you can add or delete the columns as well. So yes, that's possible. Chennai is possible. Murthy, thank you so much for the request. All I can say is I'll try for Chennai. But certainly, I mean, in terms of the workshop, if you would like to have the workshop in your own city, a live workshop, uh, send me a mail at goodly dot sorry what's my email id, I forgot. Goodly.wordpress at gmail.com. GOODLY .wordpress at gmail.com. So send me an email about your request to do the workshop in your own city, and I'll be more than happy to kind of do that in your city. Will you get a certificate? Monica, I don't have a provision of giving the certificate as of now, but I am more interested in giving you the skill of doing the analysis on your own. But if certificate is something that you're looking at and is something that you would want to have, I can probably look at that as arranging a certificate for the program. But it's no point just having a piece of paper. It's more important than to have a skill rather than just having a certificate. But if that is a mandate for you, I mean, I'll try to work around that. So Diksha says, "Hi, can we also work on our own data and complexity?" Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. Yes, I would want you to do that. I would certainly want you to bring your own data and try working around with that data so that you have real-time application of these tools. Because this is not theory. This practically works. So yes, Diksha, the answer to your question is yes. Oh, Monica, thank you for registering the course. I'm glad. Thanks. Kumar asks a question, which is a very interesting question, and I've also felt the same. Power Query takes time to combine large volumes of data in the XLS format. XLS is the old Excel format, which is Excel 2007, the compatible version of Excel. Now, Kumar, what I would recommend you is that why don't you save the file in the XLSX format. I have personally experienced problem with the XLS format and the binary format. So you just have to change the format to the normal XLSX format, and then I'm very hopeful this is going to work fine for you. Swaroop, what's the minimum headcount for the workshop? So the maximum headcount for the workshop is 20. That's the headcount that I have it in Bombay. Minimum, I don't know, 10 at least. Any other questions, people? Please ask me as much questions as you have. All right, I'm around for another five minutes. If you have any questions post 5 minutes, I will try to reply that through a chat. But if you're around for the next 5 odd minutes, please ask me as many questions as you have. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions live. Ashish, when would you incorporate this Power BI via online? Um, are you asking for a course that when will I make a course for Power BI? If that's your question, probably this year. Kumar says Power Pivot requires installation. Kumar, that depends upon which Excel version are you working with. Kumar, if you've had the chance to take a look at the PDF of the training outline for the Mumbai and Delhi workshop, it has a link which specifies which is the correct version of Excel in which Power Pivot can be installed? Please go through that. You will have the answer to your question. I want to make Analytica report for my financial report. Mohammed, I didn't understand your question. Can you say that a little more clearly? Can we have the recap of the session? Yes, yes. So this is going to be on YouTube, and you can come over here, and the link is going to work, and the recording of this session is going to be on my channel on YouTube. So sure enough, you can watch this again if you would like. Thank you, Nazir. I'm um, so happy that you like my dashboards. Um, thank you so much. Yes, Mohammed, the answer to your question is yes. Data analysis of financial reports comparing with previous reports at a glance. The answer is yes. You can do that. So we just have to get the data into Power Pivot and write DAX formulas that compare to the previous Excel. So yes, previous year's data. So yes, for sure. All right, people, 2 more minutes. I can see 40 people watching me. So thank you for hanging in. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'm there for 2 more minutes, and then I'll just log off, and you can just go enjoy your Saturday. How can you tell me any possibility of the course in Tableau in future? Nazir, I am not a specialist in Tableau. Um, I am more of a Microsoft guy, and I have little information about Tableau. But one of the features that Tableau doesn't have is the data modeling feature. The calculations that you can do it in Power BI are not as sophisticated as you can do it in Power BI. So Tableau lacks that. So, but I don't have much information about Tableau. So sorry about that. Okay, Monica, great question. Is it enough that we have knowledge of basic and advanced Excel to understand BI? I never worked on Excel before, so just okay. So here is the thing. Um, if you're a 9 to 5 user of Excel, you work with Excel throughout the day and stuff. Uh, I just want you to know a couple of things really, really well. So number one is pivot tables. Understand pivot tables really, really well. That's number one. Number two is that have a basic understanding or a good understanding around formulas like VLOOKUP, index match, sum ifs, count ifs, those kind of formulas. And more than Excel, what I would want you to understand is the logic and the aptitude and the general understanding of your data rather than knowing Excel. Although we'll be working business intelligence inside Excel, but it doesn't really require Excel. You can learn all of that even without Excel, but Excel just adds on so that you are able to understand the work that you're doing in Excel. How can you do that in Power Pivot or Power BI? So yeah, that's the answer to your question. I have multiple PDF files. I'd like to convert them to text and get them done. Okay, Paula, I'm not sure how to convert that into Excel files using PDF. I have heard that Power Query is still trying to work on that to bring in PDF as an input. As of now, it doesn't have PDF as an input, but it's trying to work around that. I'm not sure when will that be up, but there are several paid add-ins available that can go inside the PDF, read the numbers from there, read the tables from there, and bring that data into Excel. So you just have to Google search for that. All right, thank you, people, so much for coming on a Saturday, spending time in the afternoon with me. And I love to see you in the workshop. Thank you for so much for requesting the workshop in your own city. I will try to make that possible. You can speak about this webinar and the software and the applications of modern Excel to your friends as well. If you try and get more nominations in and around your city, I'd love to do the workshop in your city as well. But as of now, workshops for Bombay and for Delhi are confirmed. If you live in and around those cities and you would like to learn these skills, 2 days is going to be extensive training on these tools, and I will try to go as much as in depth to try and help you out solving your data analysis problems. Right? Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon somewhere on the blog soon. I don't know what to say next. Bye.